afternoon to you all. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We hope that you're having a great time. My name is Miriam. I am an awareness officer for wildlife crime prevention. We're so excited to be sharing this day with you, and also we are so excited to have you tune in each and every session that we have. Please don't forget to like and share, as well as tag your friends on these sessions that we have. And if you just joined us this afternoon, we are having a Conservation Careers Fair 2021 virtually, and we have awesome speakers who are joined and sharing with us a lot of activities or works that they're doing with the various organizations. And with me this afternoon, I'm joined by Enoch Mwangilwa from Wildlife Environmental Conservation Society of Zambia. He works as a project officer for the national office, and he'll be highlighting the work that the WECSZ does. And hi, Enoch.
Hello, Miriam. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Can you please tell us what Wildlife Environmental Conservation Society of Zambia are, and the work that you do, as well as what activities you have lined up in terms of opportunities?
Okay, thank you for that question. And you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, the Wildlife and Environmental Conservation Society of Zambia, long name, I always say that it's a mouthful, is a non-governmental organization that was founded way back in 1953. And it's one of the oldest conservation NGOs in Zambia, if not the oldest. Yeah, it started out as a hunting association, but with time, the hunters realized that at the end of the day, they needed their future generations to come and see how a hippo, how a rhino, or a lion looked like. And so they said, we need to start conserving and teaching about people, rather, about the different animals and, flowers, plants that we have in our country. And so there, it started as a conservation NGO. And what are we? What are we all about? So our vision, our dream is an environmentally conscious Zambia that is benefiting from well-balanced and maintained ecosystems. So when we say an environmentally conscious Zambia, that means us, the people, being conscious of the environment. And by being conscious, we can do something about conserving these natural resources. When we are in that state, then we can start benefiting from the ecosystem services that, the natural resources provide. So that is really our dream. That's where we want to get to. We want every Zambian to know that there is the environment from which we get important services, okay? And also resources. How are we going to get to that dream? You may ask, or someone might want to know what our strategies or what's our mission. So we want to do this through championing, the harmonious coexistence between human and nature. And this is through knowledge and practical conservation of these ecosystems that we have in Zambia. So when we talk about knowledge and practical conservation, two things come to mind in terms of our strategies. In terms of knowledge, number one, we're trying to promote research about the environmental issues we have in Zambia, about the different habitats that we have in Zambia. When we talk about practical conservation, we're talking about what skills do we then need to start responding to the various researched, identified environmental problems that we have in our country. So those two critical aspects are very important to get to where we want to get to. So we also do advocacy work, and also we try by all means to ensure that we are in a state of providing guidance. I mean, when we talk about advocacy, rather, we're talking about helping the people in authorities, for example, the government, providing them information or advocating for better implementation of laws and regulations, as well as enforcement of the outlined laws and policies in our country. So that is our strategy. But then we have programs and projects in our institution. So the backbone of the Wildlife and Environmental Conservation Society of Zambia is our environmental education program, famously known as the Chongololo and Chipembele Conservation Clubs of Zambia. Those clubs started way back in 1975, and to date they're still there.
That's a long time.
It's a long time ago, and our reach is quite wide, but there's still a lot of schools that we have, in Zambia. We have over 10,000 schools in Zambia, so you can imagine. But suffice to say that as an institution, we have coverage across the country in all the 10 provinces, and we're talking about having at least over 1,400 schools who have Chongololo and or Chipembele conservation clubs in their schools. So how do we get to that state? We have a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Education. Way back in the time of late President Mwanawasa, he pronounced that every school in Zambia should have a conservation club that teaches about environmental issues. And so the news went and activities were done to have these clubs established. Like I said earlier on, way back it was the oldest and most likely the only institution, and so it was the program was widely known, and there was a radio program that was running called the Chongololo Club of the Air, which is still there even now. But the reach in terms of going or being widely known as was in the past is not to that degree at the current state, because there's more schools, there's more clubs in schools and all those sorts of things. So
sorry to cut you short on that one. So I'm wondering, now that you're explaining about those challenges, maybe schools being more, and also there's quite a broader reach, like you can't really reach all the schools. So don't you think that's actually a good thing that there's more schools now, and so you can actually reach out to a lot of people? How then would you say could be the big problem there? I feel like if there's more schools, then there's actually more opportunities to partner with these schools.
Exactly. You raise a very good point. So this is an opportunity. And like I said, our wish is to have a voice, for example, from the president to say, let's go back to having the Chongololo clubs in schools. And we can now go all out and have these clubs established in schools. And also there's another opportunity other than the schools the schools are many now. There's also the opportunity now through the new ministry that has come on board that will be promoting solely, environmental conservation. We can have, commitment and support from these, points of authority so that we can go as widespread as we can go. Yeah, so schools, the Chongololo and Chipembele conservation clubs of Zambia in schools. If I went into the details of what the Chongololo club is and what the Chipembele club is, we may take long, but just a quick summary of what these are. The Chongololo club teaches about the habitats that we have in Zambia. So, and this is for pupils or young people from pre-grade actually to grade 7. So they learn about the different habitats in Zambia. When they grow older, they get to grade 8 to grade 12 and beyond. We start teaching them about the environmental problems in Zambia. What does that do? That then brings an opportunity for them to start thinking about how they can respond to the identified problems, because now they know about them. Yes, so those are the two clubs. Then we have the Chongololo Club of the Air, which I mentioned. Now airs on 11 community radio stations.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so we will, even at our page on social media, Facebook, it's called WECSZ Zambia. We can share with you the districts where this radio program is airing so that you can follow us. It's running, and we supplement the Chongololo and Chipembele conservation clubs. What we do is we've created an environmental education program. And Miriam, allow me to mention that there's a difference between environmental education and environmental awareness. When there's a bus passing that is saying, do not throw, plastics or papers anyhow, throw them in the bin. They're just trying to bring to the awareness of the people that they shouldn't do that, right? But they've not been educated.
Oh, wow.
They've known about that, but they've not been educated. So what we are saying is that people need to know, but they need to have a deeper understanding of what those problems are and what they can do in terms of affecting them or otherwise. Okay, so we've created an environmental education program. That means we take young people in schools through an education program where we print materials for them to learn about the habitats, then the environmental problems, and how they can start responding to them. So in the time that one is in school, from grade 1 to grade 12, they will surely have not just picked up the knowledge, but also the skills to respond to the environmental issues. So that is how we've structured our system, and that's what we really want to build, knowledge and skills, so that at the end of the day, people are able to respond to the problems. So I've talked about two things.
Yes.
The clubs in schools, and then the Chongololo Club of the Air, yes, on radio, community radio stations. That's the knowledge side of things. Then I talk about the practical conservation side of things. So at the Wildlife and Environmental Conservation Society of Zambia, we also do projects and programs. So in the projects department at the moment, we have maybe 3 or 4 projects. I'll run through them, then I'll know the exact number. The first one is called Menda Data Pamo. That's a mix of languages. Menda is water, that's from Tonga. Data is data we know and processed information, right? Pamo means together, from the Bemba word Pamo.
That's a good
so that's water data together. So it's a water quality monitoring project, which we've pushed to the Conservation Club members. What we are doing is we are teaching young people to be citizen scientists, to be local people who can participate in monitoring the quality of their water, understanding whether it is good for their consumption and also good for the aquatic species, the fish and all those things that grow in the water. So we take them through a process of learning how to collect water quality data using a simple kit developed by an institution in the UK called Earthwatch. Yes, and we've partnered in that project with WWF Zambia so that we can collaborate on promoting good water quality in the lower Kafue sub-catchment. And that in the end translates into an advocacy focus where we involve the water authority, that is WAMA, the Water Management Authority, Water Resources Management Authority. And that is about the water side of things. We also have another project called Smart Climate Action Zambia. This is a climate change project that seeks to build skills. They've learned about climate change, right? From our magazines and all that. Yeah. Now I want to teach them practical skills they can use to start responding to the imminent climate change, crisis. But this is particular to the agriculture sector because we know that this is one sector in which many people want to venture as entrepreneurs and all that. But climate change won't allow us to farm the ordinary way. We have to farm somehow. But people need skills for them to do that, right? So we are teaching young people the climate change science, simplifying it to their level because they're young people, then giving them skills on how they can do smart climate agriculture. It could be conservation agriculture. It can be particular smart climate agriculture practices as well. So that project is solely done by the national office, and we've done it just in Lusaka, and we hope to expand that initiative because our entry point that we've discovered is the fact that the Ministry of Education has said that we need to be utilizing our production units. So the question is, how about young people start learning climate smart skills from the production units in schools? And how about turning all the production units into smart climate spaces where, at the end of the day, the child will leave the school and they'll go home and practice farming that is climate sensitive, right? So that is the second project. The third project that we do is another project that we call, it's a program rather. Yeah. It's the Unite for Climate and Conservation program. This is supported by UNICEF. And also this is a climate change program, but this one is set out to train young people we call climate change ambassadors. So we teach them the climate change science as well. But what we do with them is, because we're trying to do advocacy with them and more of actions as well at community level, we give them communication skills so that at the end of the day when they're out there, they can talk about climate change in their communities. And they can do simple activities, but very critical activities such as cleaning up, activities such as also them doing some adaptation and mitigation projects that they can do. So the goal here is to make young people push the climate change agenda because they are one of the most impacted groups in our communities, so young people and women. So that is the Unite for Climate and Conservation program.
So I believe this one is more for the people who just completed grade 12.
Okay, good question you ask. Good question you ask.
I'm sure maybe there's someone wondering to say, you've mentioned about the Chongololo, Chipembele, and so who are the climate change ambassadors?
Okay,
yeah,
nice. So to motivate these young people that turn out to be very active in the Chongololo and Chipembele conservation clubs, we want to show them that you can actually advance your effort to, promote climate consciousness and also for people to start acting in a climate-friendly manner in their communities. And so we pick out those who are very committed in the Chongololo and Chipembele Conservation Club so that at the end of the day we sustain the fact that it's not just about learning in the club, but you can go further. But of course, these young people end up out of school. Yeah. And what happens actually then is we build them as facilitators. So when we organize trainings for those who are called climate change ambassadors, we bring those young people to facilitate climate change sessions and trainings for the younger ones. So the focus of the Unite for Climate and Conservation program in terms of the age is for those between the age of 15 and 22. So you realize that some of them will be out of school, but they can still continue as facilitators in the Unite for Climate and Conservation program. And just to make notice, that program is implemented in partnership with UNICEF Zambia. Yes. Anything else that we do? We have a very interesting Afro-Montane Biodiversity Conservation project. Afro-Montane means the ecosystems in the mountain areas. And since 2016, we've been implementing the Mafinga Afro-Montane Biodiversity Conservation Project. There, we've worked with different partners, but the goal is that in Mafinga there is a national forest reserve, and actually there's also a botanical reserve in Mafinga, and our goal is to safeguard that forest reserve because it was left there because it protects the water catchment of the mighty Luangwa River. That's where the source of the Luangwa River is. So one of the projects we are doing there is we're trying to conserve, to sustain and also maintain the Mafinga Forest Reserve. Yes, so those are the things we do.
That's a mouthful of activities. You did mention about the radio program, the Chongololo Club of the Air. Did mention about the Chongololo clubs and Chipembele clubs. You did mention research. You also mentioned about the Afro-Montane project. Is there any other that I've missed?
So the Unite for Climate and
the Unite for Climate, yeah. So those actually are a lot of programs and very exciting to learn about them. And I believe also with our viewers, also they're very eager to actually learn more and also have a lot of questions. Please keep sending us your questions. We should be able to address them as we get closer to the end of our discussion. So you did mention about awareness as well as imparting skills. So, and also given the fact that WECSZ has been like one of the longest serving conservation organizations, what would you say, what are your parameters? How would you gauge to say from the time, maybe like for the past 2 years or 3 years, what would you say like how would you say you actually progressed? Do you think there's change? Do you think people are actually learning, and do you think people are actually getting interested in conservation related programs or activities? Yeah, what would you like, how would you like express this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So from what I've seen, with time people are becoming more aware of the environment. Again, I use the word aware.
Yes.
About the environment. And there's growing interest in the environmental conservation field, right? And so one thing that I believe we have done as a society is also to expand our reach. We didn't have 1,400 schools back then. We've been growing and we've been reaching out to more schools. And we are reaching out to as many as we can. We have good success stories from young people who were Chongololo Club members. They went to Chipembele, they became Unite for Climate and Conservation ambassadors. Then they left, some of them are in the conservation field, they're project managers, leading climate change programs, some of them are outside, So we've seen people grow through the program and come out and be very impactful in the sector as well. And that's really our hope and desire. And also in the project areas where we work, we've seen a lot of people coming out with great interest in conservation. So with time, we are making impact in our own way, I believe. Yeah, and like I said, the growing interest in the environmental conservation field, even new organizations have come on board. And so the reach is growing. Yeah, through us and other partners, of course. Yeah.
Also due to time, maybe just one more question from me. You kept on mentioning about the national office. Where else is WECSZ? Is it just Lusaka, or maybe you just send materials and you're sitting in your office in Lusaka? Do you have presence elsewhere?
That's a good question, and thank you for asking it. Because you may be wondering, how are you doing all those things? Well, how are you structured, really? Yeah. So what our system is that we have branches and focal persons. So we have branches in Chipata, we have a branch in Lusaka, of course we are in Lusaka. Then we have a branch in Livingstone, we have a branch in Kabwe. Then in the other provinces, we have people we call focal persons. So these focal persons are volunteers in the different districts, and there are people we can always go and ask them on how the activities are going. When we are sending out materials, these are people we send materials to and then distribute. And also we have a good presence at the DEBS offices in the various districts. So that is how we expand our work. We have an office in Mafinga where the project is running, and that's how we get to reach to the different people. So we have branches and focal persons, and that's how we have created a network that helps us at least push the work in all the 10 provinces.
Okay, great. So one of our followers wants to know, how do they become a part of the society, and do you offer internship opportunities?
Okay, thank you. So this is for you who's asked the question. You can write down www.conservationzambia.org. When you go to that site, look for membership subscription. Guidelines will be there, and you can get a form that you can submit their conditions. Please meet the conditions, then you become a member. You will know where our address is from there, but we're in Long Acres along Kumoyo Road off Los Angeles Boulevard. We used to say behind Red Cross, but it seems like Red Cross is moving. So Kumoyo Road off Los Angeles Boulevard Road. That's where you can find us. That's where our national office is. Internship opportunities. Yes, we do offer internship opportunities. Let me be quick to say at the moment, we don't have any openings because we already have volunteers and interns already in place. But we do have internship opportunities. We've had students from UNZA, from Copperbelt, do their internships from our institution, and they've left after the period that they get from school. And we've also had volunteers come through and do some work with us and transition. Some of them still stay. Allow me to say that I worked for the Wildlife and Environmental Conservation Society of Zambia for 10 months as a volunteer. Miriam, this is a good story. You introduced me to the society.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm glad that you did. I worked there for 10 months as a volunteer, then I've moved, at least done one or two things in the society, and I'm really glad that I started like that. So there are opportunities to volunteer, there are opportunities for internships. So you submit your letter. When there is an opportunity, you'll definitely be given feedback on that notice.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
In the recent stories that we've had with regards to conservation, we've seen a lot of issues regarding human-wildlife conflict. How are you dealing with that? Like there's scramble for resources. These are conservation, wildlife resources, everything that is around conservation. So there's just a lot of conflict going on. How are you handling that as a society?
human-wildlife conflict. Yes. I like that. So remember, if you followed, if you've been with us from the start, I said that our mission is to promote or to champion harmonious coexistence between humans and nature. That can only happen if you have enough knowledge that in the space where I am, there are plants, there are animals that also depend on them. And at the end of the day, it is from these same natural resources where I'll get benefits, ecosystem services. Okay, so how we are handling that is really by building a set of knowledge, a change of attitude, a change in behavior, and finally an appreciation of living in harmony, with other, natural resources in our environments.
Thank you. And just one last question, because also we have so much, limited time that we have. Do you offer internship for people who are not or who don't have an environmental background?
Yeah, I'm glad you've asked that question, because I've been thinking, we have COVID now, right? And we've been forced to stay home. What means are we using to reach out? Technology, right? So for me, I'm really looking forward to having someone come to the society and say that they have skills in designing, and they can do social media marketing or awareness, so that we can create posters, create a climate change campaign and put it on Facebook. A number of people will see that and learn one or two things. So you see, your background is designing or ICT, but you can still contribute to the conservation sector, isn't it? Yeah. We have people that have done environmental education can come. Those who've done development studies. Environmental issues are not only, about conserving just the natural side of things. There's also the economic or the development component that should come out even as we are doing that. So you can do development studies and work with us. You can do population studies and work with us. Great. You can do different, you can come from different background, but you can always identify the way you can support conservation work. I've been following the conversations that have been going on, and pretty much the same sentiments have come out, that you don't need to do an environmental related program for you to contribute to conservation, really. Yeah. So just align yourself in a way you realize that you need natural resources for you to push your agenda.
You heard it, there's more opportunities in the world of conservation, and you don't need to have any background on conservation. All you need to have is determination and also focus. You need to enjoy what you do and enjoy how you do it. So, Enoch, in the last few words, what would you tell that one person that's listening and they feel like their skills don't belong anywhere, or their skills belong in a certain environment, but they can't get there? What would you tell them?
That's a good question. What would I say to you? If you're pursuing your studies somewhere, learn as many skills as you can in that field. Because number one, you never know what skills will earn you a job. Because at the end of the day, you want to be employed, isn't it? So learn as many skills as you can. Then start identifying where you can apply these skills. The previous speaker talked about having your passion aligned with what you're pursuing. Yeah. Please identify your love. I would tell you that I personally love what I do, and I can even volunteer to do the work because I just love that, And so please learn as many skills, find the way to apply them. Don't sit on knowledge, please don't.
Thank you so much, Enoch. Please continue following us as we unveil more exciting speakers, more information about organizations that are working in conservation and at the great work that you're doing, as well as more opportunities in which you can be a part of and also interact. Thank you so much.